Hey folks, Lenny Lawson here. Welcome to this special edition of My Car Guru. I had a breakdown this weekend. No, not mental, and not with an automobile. It was with my tractor. Yes, I decided I was going to do some bush hogging. You know, that's kind of a brand name used in a generic manner. Bush hog is actually a company. So let's call it brush cutting. That's what I was doing. My fields have gotten extremely tall because the guy that normally comes around and cuts my hay didn't show. And he said it was because he had too much hay. It was a really wet summer, and he had too much, so he wasn't going to cut it this year. I'm kind of glad he didn't because it's beautiful. When the wind blows, it just flows across those fields, and you can see the hay just meandering as it flows in the wind. Okay, I'm getting carried away with myself. But I decided I needed to clean around the edges. I did find a guy to come and cut. So he's going to do it, and he's going to fertilize it, and he gets to cut next year because the other guy flamed out on me. But yeah, I was driving my tractor along, and I was mowing up and down this hill. I'm very careful with my tractor. I always wear my seatbelt, keep my ROPS bar up, so in case I fall or it flips over, I'll hopefully survive it. But bush hogging, that's what I'm going to call it, is dangerous. A lot of farmers get killed every year because of accidents that happen with their tractors, specifically with all that weight on the back of it when you have a brush cutter like that. Mine's a 6-foot brush cutter. But I had my earbuds in because I was listening to a murder mystery on Dateline. I do that a lot when I'm mowing and on my tractor. Thank goodness, though, there was a buzzing noise that was loud enough for me to hear over the murder mystery. And I looked down, got my attention, I looked down, and I had a red light on. And I wasn't exactly sure what that symbol meant, but one thing that I do know as a car guru, when you get a red light that you're not familiar with, you pull over and shut it off. If more people would do that, there'd be a whole lot fewer engines destroyed. But what do? We just look at it and say, I wonder what that is. It's just another light in our lives. And then they get home and coolant is spewing all over their driveway, and the husband comes running out. What did you do? Well, this light came on, and I just figured I could come home. You told me that I didn't have to worry about some of those lights. Yeah, that was the tire pressure light and the check engine light. You don't have to worry about them. Well, how am I supposed to keep track of all the lights? That's kind of the way it goes. Do you like my acting job? But just in the interest of not offending the ladies, you can reverse those roles if you want to. Blame the husband or the boyfriend or whatever, significant other. And, the moral of the story is pay attention to the lights. Had a lady call this morning, said, Lenny, she knows me well. I said, hello, Vicky. And she said, Lenny, I've got my tire pressure lights on. And just wondering, I'm going out of town. Is it possible for me to stop by the dealership and you air up my tires? Vicky, I'd be more than happy to do that. Just pull into the Ford service drive and we'll do that in a flash so you can get back on the road. Thank you, Lenny. See, that's the advantage of knowing somebody that works at a car dealership. I know I'm more than work at a car dealership. I own it. However, if you have somebody like that, you can handle those minor emergencies. Of course, was that an emergency? Her tire pressure light? Is that really an emergency? No, it's not an emergency, but it's just another one of those lights in our lives. And if you ignore it long enough, it'll cause premature tire wear. So why is it coming on? Well, because temperatures have dropped. Does that make sense? Because what happens to air pressure when it gets cold? It goes down. When tires warm up, air pressure increases in the tire. It just happens. It expands. Heat makes things expand. And that's why you're seeing a lot of lights going on right now that have the little tire pressure symbol. I think it's probably important to get that owner's manual out. If you turn your ignition key on, not all the way, just turn it to the accessory position, all the different lights on your instrument panel will light up. And you can sit there with the book and identify what each one of them means. And I think that's important. You might have to move all those pictures of your grandkids and children and your favorite dog off the dash. Please don't put pictures up there. I know your kids are beautiful, and so are your grandkids, but that's not where the pictures go. Put them in frames on your desk or on your dinner table, but not on the dash of your car. Okay, so yeah, those nagging TPS sensors. It got down to 42 this morning in Greenville, Tennessee, and I'd say there were a lot of lights going off for tire pressure warning. But like I say, it's not one of those really bad things. But anyway, so my tractor got overheated, so I jumped off and I raised the hood and looked up under there, and I saw that my air filter screen was completely clogged up. That can cause that. But we had a huge bonfire, and it was really not it's not one of those fires where you sit around and sing Kumbaya and roast marshmallows. They cleaned out my woods, and there were monster trees in there. It's probably one of the biggest brush piles that I've ever had on my property. And it burned for almost 6 days. It still had embers in it, so it was big. But when it was all said and done, I had a lot of ash, and so I had to spread it all out, and my tractor sucked up a lot of ash into the air filter and on that screen. And that was irresponsible of me, because basically I should get my blower and blow that off so that it doesn't clog up my filter and clog up my radiator. So that could have been the cause, but the main cause I saw was the coolant overflow tank. Now, your car has one of these. They're made out of cheap plastic, and occasionally they will crack, they will break, they will develop holes. Well, this is on a relatively new tractor, and it had already cracked for some reason, and it was spewing antifreeze. And so I was upset when I saw that. I was glad I shut off my tractor, because you know what the end result of that could have been if I had ignored that. If I'd had the volume turned up too loud on my earbuds, then I could have destroyed that very expensive diesel engine. And that's not something I wanted to do. If I had, I would probably not have admitted it on this radio show / podcast. Is that bad? Probably is. I do make mistakes, though, and one of them was not cleaning out my filter. I did pull my filter off the tractor and looked at it, and it was completely clogged. I mean, beyond, it didn't even look like a filter anymore. It looked like some kind of a furry creature. But when I did pull it off, I looked inside and ran my finger around the hole that goes into the engine, and it was perfectly clean. So the filter had done its job. One of the blessings of using factory filters, not cheap aftermarket filters, in your tractor or in your car. I talk about that a lot. I don't know why somebody would buy, I don't care what you spend on a car, even if it's an inexpensive car. What is an inexpensive car anymore? I mean, the average selling price is just under $50,000. You can still buy a car for, $25,000 to $30,000, maybe a Hyundai Elantra or something like that. But even at that, I mean, if your monthly payment is $600-700 a month, why would you go to a quick lube place and put a $2 oil filter on there and a $3 air filter? You're not thinking about what the ramifications of that could be. Put the best filters on there that you can. Use the top quality oil. Use the best gasoline. Your car will last longer. Okay, I'll take my first break. I'll be back in just 1 minute. Okay, I am back. Let's talk about something just fascinating. Let's talk about sales tax on cars. That can add a lot to the price of a vehicle. The sales tax in the state of Tennessee on automobiles is 7%. The highest in the country is in Nevada. What do you say? What do I say? I say Nevada. Yeah, I had to think about it for a second. 8.25% in Nevada. Kansas is 7.5%. California and Illinois, 7.25%. I'm sure there are other fees that are charged, maybe wheel tax charges and things like that when you register the vehicle. Rhode Island, Tennessee, and Indiana Indiana are the next highest at 7%. Those are the top ones. I live in one of those states, and that is sad. Now, it's not so bad if you have a trade-in. Now, does your state give you credit for your trade? Well, it does if it's not California or Virginia. That's surprising to me. Of course, Virginia can be a somewhat liberal state because of it's right around Washington, D.C., all that population there. They must have voted for that. But yeah, there's no credit for the sales tax that you paid on your trade-in. How is that fair? I just don't think it is at all. I mean, you already paid sales tax on the full amount on that one. Shouldn't you get credit? Well, 48 other states think you should. So we had an issue this past weekend in the dealership. We sold a vehicle to a guy, and he refused to pay us the sales tax here. He wanted to take his title and the bill of sale and take it to the registration office and register it himself and pay his sales tax down there. And for some reason, he was just irate because we would not let him do that. And that's because we are liable for that. In the state of Tennessee, I'm sure in most other states, there are sales tax audits. And because car dealers are a major collector of sales tax, probably the only business in a town our size or mid-sized town that pays more sales tax or redeems more sales tax to the state would be somebody like Walmart or grocery stores. Car dealers have a lot of sales, and the transactions are really big, so there's a lot of sales tax collected. And the state of Tennessee takes that really seriously, so they come in and audit us every 3 years, whether we want to or not. They look at every transaction, and they want to make sure that we collected sales tax. And if we don't, then they're going to charge us a sales tax on that transaction. So we can't let people out of the dealership and not pay sales tax. But I want to register the vehicle myself. Well, you can still register it yourself. You can go down to the courthouse and register the vehicle. We'll give you the title and the bill of sale, and you can go do that. But they won't collect sales tax down there. We're going to collect it here and redeem it to the state, one way or the other. Okay. So I have another confession to make. I'm actually succumbing to pressure from my daughters who are telling me, Dad, you need to get the windows tinted on your Porsche. Why? I want to be able to see out of my window because it makes it look better. Don't you think it's pretty enough as it is? No, it would look better if the windows were tinted. Well, I'm not getting that really dark tint. Well, you don't have to. It would look better. So anyway, I'm breaking a personal rule. I'm getting the windows tinted. Now, that's on the Porsche 911. I will not ever get the windows tinted on a vehicle that I drive a lot, every day, like my F-150. But, window tinting is, I think it's a youthful thing. Maybe let's see, what am I? I'm a baby boomer. What came before me? I don't even remember. Gen X. I think they're a bunch of window tinters. I'm an anti-tintite. That's just what I am. I'm against it. But let's talk about why people do it. I understand. I mean, heat reduction. Maybe, is it more comfortable? Well, according to the experts, tinted windows can block up to 60% of solar heat, keeping the cabin cooler and reducing the need for air conditioning. So this can also lead to better fuel efficiency. Okay, I can buy that. So what about this UV protection? Well, quality film, if it's the right kind of film, can block 99% of UV rays, protecting your skin. Now, I can appreciate that because I am of Scotch-Irish heritage. Every time I go to the dermatologist, he reminds me of that. Well, Lenny, it's just your Scotch-Irish heritage. I'm about sick of that. I had perfect skin until about 15 years ago, and then everything went south. So maybe if I'd gotten window tinting earlier, it would have been better. Apparently, UV rays can fade your seats and cause cracking in your seats, dashboard, and trim. Now, I'll tell you this. I am not getting any tint on my windshield. Not doing it. I don't like that little bar that they put across the top because my line of vision is right there at that line, so that's not happening. I'm just doing the sides, and I'm doing legal tint. It will not be illegal. So anyway, glare reduction. Tint significantly reduces glare from the sun, headlights, reflective surfaces, improving visibility and driver safety. I don't know about that. Driver safety? That's what concerns me. When I drive my daughter's Expeditions with that illegal tint that they have in it, I hope they get pulled over someday and the police say, you're going to have to take that out because it's too dark. I can't see, especially with my developing cataracts. Privacy and security. Darker tints provide greater privacy, preventing outsiders from easily seeing inside. That's another thing I don't like, because if somebody pulls in front of me, I want to see who I'm mad at. I can't see them. And, if they're mad at me and decide to flip me off or something, then I won't know it. So anyway, that's kind of a silly reason. Aesthetic appeal. See, this was the appeal that my daughters are hitting me up with. Tinting can enhance a vehicle's appearance. So we'll see. I've got an appointment at North Main Audio. Yeah, they do window tinting as well. And so they're real excited about doing my little P car. It can also complement the paint color or the body styling, according to the experts. So tint film can hold shattered glass, so it is a safety thing. I don't know about that, but maybe it does. But, here's some of the arguments against window tinting, like legal restrictions. But I'm sorry, it's just not being enforced. I see too many windows that you can't even tell anybody's inside the thing. And I know that's not safe. And I would I'm going to ask another one of those rhetorical questions because I can't hear your answer. Do you think it makes a vehicle look better? Is it important to be able to see out of the vehicle clearly at night? I personally think it is. Visibility and safety concerns. Excessive tint can reduce visibility at night or in low light conditions. Absolutely. Law enforcement and emergency responders may object to very dark tint. What if you get pulled over? And that happens. And just think about the police officer walking up to a car. He can't see anything that's going on in that car. Seems like every criminal video that I watch on YouTube, all of them have dark tinted windows. It takes a lot of courage to walk up to a vehicle at 2 a.m. and it's kind of a shady looking vehicle anyway, and you're pulling them over, and you can't see if they've got a Uzi pointed at you or what. I just can't imagine having the courage to do that. God bless those people. Another reason to get rid of that dark tint. Maybe they were perfectly innocent folks, but I hope he wrote them a ticket for the dark tint and made them get it taken out. Also, some of the negatives are just crappy installation. If you have a professional do it, it looks good. But have you seen those windows that look like they have bubbles all over the back glass? It's usually because of the poor installation over a rear window defogger. That's what causes that. But it's just like, they do a great job on the driver and passenger windows and a little strip across the windshield and maybe the back seat passengers. But when they get to the back window, they're exhausted and they just can't get it clean enough or, get the air bubbles out of it. And they say, oh, the heck with it. Let's see. What else? Technological interference. Certain metallic or ceramic films can interfere with radio, GPS, or keyless entry signals. So, these are just some of the reasons for and against. But I'm going to give it a shot. I just hope it's not too hard to take out in case I don't like it. We shall see. I'll give you a report. I'll be back in just 1 minute. Okay, back to the question of, what happened with me on my tractor. I do want to caution you that if you don't want to know what any of the other lights are, that's fine that come on your dash, but know where the oil light is, the oil pressure light, or the oil pressure gauge, the coolant light. You need to know what that looks like. It's not the same as your check engine light. If that light comes on, just wait a little bit, and that car just keep getting hotter and hotter. Next thing you're going to notice is steam coming out from the gap between your hood and your fender. And you'll put your foot on the gas and nothing will happen. Or you might hear a knocking noise in your engine because it has no coolant and it's gotten so hot that there's no protection. The oil can't protect it, and you have destroyed your engine. So know what the oil light looks like. Know what the coolant light looks like. Transmission. You may have a warning light for your transmission. But if you're not sure, just get your owner's manual out, turn it to the accessory position, and just identify what each light is. Just go ahead and do it. Do it tomorrow or just when you have time so that you know, especially if it's a new car. I mean, if it's a car you've had for a long time, hopefully you know what all those indicators are. But if it's a relatively new car, it's going to have a lot of different lights on it, and you need to know what they mean. And like I say, if it's a check engine light, it's not an emergency, but it can become one if you let that go too long. So, a lot of people, they'll just go to Advance Auto Parts or O'Reilly's or someplace, and they'll have, would you scan this for me and see what light is on, what this is telling me? And they can scan it. All they'll do, though, is tell you what they think it is. The only way to find out for sure is take it to a certified independent repair shop that knows what they're doing, or preferably to the dealership that sells that particular vehicle, because they have the parts to fix it. And on a lot of these things, you don't want to put aftermarket parts on it. You want to make sure you get the OEM, the original equipment manufactured parts to solve that problem. Because the cost of not solving a check engine light problem could be a catalytic converter. Once that gets stopped up due to a faulty sensor and you're not paying attention to the underlying problem, then that's getting real expensive, and it may or may not be covered by your factory warranty. Most emission warranties go for 5 years or 60 or 75,000 miles. That was mandated by the federal government, but even if it's a mandate, it doesn't mean that you're going to pay attention to it. That's up to you. So you have been warned by the guru. If you need me for any reason, 423-552-2020, just send me a text, and I'll send you a copy of the My Car Guru guidebook that deals with a lot of this stuff. Just text me your email address, and I will send you a PDF version of the My Car Guru guidebook. If you need one printed out, just call the dealership at 423-639-5151, and I'll print one out and stick it in the mail for you. Can't beat that with a stick. Well, thanks for listening to this edition of My Car Guru, and I'll see you next time.